Welcome everyone to episode 1 of 343, a football podcast brought to you by Sporticast. I'm your host, Ahmed Faraaz Parker, but my friends all call me AF, so I'm good with that as well. Thanks for joining us. While we talk about what's going on in football, we'll cover news, we'll cover insights, and we'll even get to the Fantasy Premier League. It's going to be awesome. Today I'm joined by Ziyaad Parker, Mr. Football himself, Ronnie. And joining us from all things football is Wasim Ebrahim. Good to have you guys on the show.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Okay, we've got a great show ahead for you guys. So let's get started with a bit of an icebreaker. I'm going to put it to everybody on the panel. If you guys were to play ball with any football player living or passed away, who would it be?
Messi.
I think that's easiest, eh? Yeah, easiest question. If it's not Messi, I would have to say Thierry Henry. Personal favorite of mine.
I'm gonna just change it up a little, yeah. Seeing as though I like the hard tackles, it would be fun to be a teammate of Roy Keane or Patrick Vieira.
Quality. Personally, I'd go for King Eric because what a legend. Okay, great stuff. Next, we move on to the recent headlines. Lionel Messi. Wasim, what do you have for us?
Yeah, he completed his move to Paris Saint-Germain. It was quite a shocking week in that last week, this time, he was still a Barca player. We didn't even know the fact that he was going to leave. He was all due to be announced. I think it was Thursday. And all of a sudden, we heard news that, no, he can't be registered. And then he's not going to get the contract that he wanted. And even if he played for free, so to speak, Barca still would have not been able to register him because of the financial difficulties that they face. So all of a sudden, once PSG knew about that he was going to leave, they sort of built a package that they could go with. And within a few days, he's actually been a PSG player, and he was unveiled today and yesterday. So amazing scenes. I think PSG are a super lucky club to get him. And yeah, it was amazing to watch the visuals. But PSG with Ramos, with Donnarumma, and so many others that they signed, they're going to be one team to watch, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm sorry that Messi had to leave Barca, because I think we always saw him as being a one-man club, but such is football that things change very quickly.
Yeah, no, definitely. You mentioned like Ramos and Wijnaldum and Donnarumma and all of them. I mean, the fact that PSG managed to buy 5 players for the sum of 75 million, I think, is what they paid for Hakimi. They got 4 free transfers and only paid for one of them. And it's like the team is looking insane. I don't see how any team will be able to compete. Speaking of insane players, Jason, what do you have for us on Romelu Lukaku?
Oh, Lukaku. Well, I think things are still hanging up. I think according to all of the rumors going around, figures have now been confirmed. I think it's just medicals. And then I'm not too sure with regards to the quarantine period that he might have to serve. I think similar with the Rafa Varane case, why that one's taken so long was because of the quarantine period. So yeah, I think Lukaku should be announced, probably unveiled within the next week or so, man.
Nice. Man, I'm dying to see how he's going to be performing against those top clubs, because he was always scrutinized in his previous stint in the Premier League whenever he faced off against the top tier clubs. It's going to be interesting to see this new Lukaku with this newfound confidence and this maturity, to see how he's going to be tackling the Liverpools and the Man Cities this season. Finally, our last bit of news, Rafael Varane still hasn't been announced by Manchester United. Ziyaad, what's happening over there?
Typical Man United. They're just waiting for things to happen. I think they're overconfident. They think they're just going to win everything. Riaz, if you're listening to this is for you. So, look, I think they should register him pretty soon to try and get him in for the first game at least. But it's not the end of the world if he misses the first game, as I think United do have enough options. And I mean, starting against Leeds, they probably want him and want to get off to a good start. But if we look through the squad, a lot of players played in the Euros recently, came late back to training. So, I think they're only going to really get kicked off when we get to about game week 3.
Okay. Yeah. And like speaking of like the game week starts this Friday. So yeah, what do you think? Like Brentford hosts Arsenal. What do you think? Like the fans are back in the stadium. It's a new season. How does Arteta build on from what he started last season?
Man, the fans are back in the stadium, but some of the fans around the world are still stuck in a bit of no man's land, wondering if they should even bother to pitch up the season. But I'm quite optimistic as an Arsenal fan. I think it's going to be a good season, and it is a tough game up against Brentford early doors. But I think at least a draw is what I expect from this game. Minimal. I think we can definitely pick up a victory. The squad's looking pretty good. We still hopefully make 1 or 2 more signings, especially the attacking midfielder that we're looking at. I don't think the goalkeeper is too important. There's talk about Ramsdale coming in, but I think Leno is, sufficient at the moment. So yeah, fairly optimistic. Couple of good signings. Happy with Ben White, especially him and Gabriel's partnership should be pretty interesting. And then, yeah, Saka should bounce back as well from that disappointing penalty miss. And big season ahead for us.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited just to see how Smith Rowe is going to be playing in that 10. I feel like he's going to have a more prominent role this season, and I think the Arsenal fans can be quite excited by that. Yeah. Jason, with the way the top, how do you think the top 6 teams have strengthened the season?
I mean, obviously we had that major marquee signing for Man City in the form of Jack Grealish. I think that having that ability to just flash that cash and just get Premier League's best, it has its advantages 100%. I think most teams have strengthened well where they've needed to. Like Ziyaad said, Arsenal dragging their feet a tad bit with that marquee number 10 signing, aka James Maddison potentially. But yeah, I think most teams have done really good business. I look at a team outside the traditional top 6, Leicester. I think they've done exceptional business. It's somewhat they able to sort out all of their business quickly, get these new guys in, give them enough time to integrate with the squad, get to know the tactics, get to know the city that they're in. So yeah, I think Leicester with their signings, they could potentially break that mold of traditional top 6. But yeah, just on that top 6, I think there's been good signings, and there still could be very good signings that could still happen before this window closes at the end of August.
Good points. Based on what you've said now, do you think the title race will be tighter this season, or do you think that one team will run away with it anyways?
I don't think it's going to be a one team running away. I think Liverpool have something to prove for some reason. After being quiet for so many years, then winning the league in that fashion, and then doing what they did last season, I think they have something to prove. I think United with their signings, they have something to prove. Ole pushed them really well last season. I think City, with everything that they spend, they always have this moniker that they have to do something, be it league, be it FA Cup. I do know that Pep enjoys that Carabao Cup win. Although many people don't want to give him that success, that seems to be his favorite trophy. But yeah, I don't think that it will be a one-horse race. I think at least four teams vying, at least up until about March, and then maybe a final 2 showdown.
Yeah, sounds good. We all thought that that Everton would have been a good team to crack that top 6 last season, but they faded quite early, and there was so much talk about Ancelotti this and James that, and I mean, like they really just faded, and it turned out to be West Ham that cracked that top position and secured a European spot. Wasim, do you think that this season there's going to be any other surprise packages that we have to look out for?
I don't think so. I think this season it's going to be a case of the traditional teams, traditional top 6 are going to be pushing and doing well. I think they're going to kind of stake their claim to be back where they belong, so to speak. So Spurs and Arsenal are going to try and push to get into that top 6 where Leicester was and West Ham were. So I feel that it's going to be a bit tough for anyone else to get into that top 6, especially clubs like Leeds who did well last year. Everton who are trying to do well again under Rafa, but I think that it's the competition is so tight that it's going to be very difficult for anyone else to break into that.
Okay, fair enough. And just staying with you, Wasim, who do you think is the signing of the season thus far?
I think it's going to be a bit difficult to say because if you're looking at certain teams like Chelsea last season, so many times they played teams off the park, but they couldn't score enough goals to kill off the game. And then, they like, I think of West Brom last season, where they conceded 5 and they games like that where they were in control and then they just conceded so many goals. So now if they get Lukaku, that's a top class striker, that could be the final jigsaw in the puzzle. And we already saw they could win the Champions League without him. So if he comes, that could be the main signing. There's some other top signings as well. We're all excited to see Sancho, what he could do for United, Konate for Liverpool, and so on. So there are some exciting signings, but for me, Lukaku's the final jigsaw for Chelsea. So if he clicks, then Chelsea's going to be really a team that's going to go all the way in my books.
Yeah, sounds good, especially now with Tammy Abraham. I saw that he was not only linked with Roma, but linked with Arsenal as well. So that's an interesting one. But yeah, with Tammy Abraham gone, I think Lukaku only has Timo Werner to fend off over there. And that's not much of a battle at the moment. I'd like to know from the rest of our panel, who are your guys signing of the season so far? Ziyaad?
Thanks for coming to me first, Jason. You can go back on mute. Thank you. Bye-bye. I actually thought Wasim was going to go with Joe Willock coming to Newcastle, but I see you went for Lukaku. I also agree, Lukaku, fantastic signing. But for me, I think the biggest one came a season after it was supposed to happen, Sancho to United. I really like that signing, and I think he does complement that team really well, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. As soon as he gets settled into that team, he just adds a different dynamic, and that's the most exciting signing for me in the league so far.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm excited for Sancho as well. Jason?
Oh, okay. Now I have my chance. Thanks, Ziyaad. For me, in terms of all of the marquee signings, I think they all okay, but it's not really as exciting as I expected them to be. Like, I mean, Sancho would be good, but there's recent history that shows that many players coming out of Germany back into England, they really struggle, except for obviously Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Africa's finest. So I think I will touch on that Willock one. And why? Firstly, because he's a Arsenal graduate, so it is a bit sad to see him go, but for all of the value that he added to Newcastle last year, I think it bodes well. I'd love to see Newcastle at least coming close to former greats, like where they once were. Obviously, they'll have to fight Arsenal for 8th spot, but that's okay. That's maybe a chat for a different podcast. But yeah, I think Willock going there, it would give him a chance to completely take that role and actually have it permanently, and then just to flourish, and maybe we have a future England international.
Yeah, no, Joe Willock, he's a huge talent, and I'm super excited to watch him this season. Jason, staying with you, top 4 picks for this season.
Top 4 picks. Okay, I'm gonna be a bit bold here. I'm gonna say City, United, Liverpool, and pains me to say this, but probably Chelsea. Arsenal for me aren't really striking much confidence, and still a team in that transition phase. So that's my top 4.
Setting the bar low, so if anything better happens, then you
exactly
reverse psychology,
my team into the 4th spot. Yeah,
nice. Ziyaad?
Yeah, look, I think we're all going to probably give a similar top 4, but I don't know if Jason's was in a particular order. So do you see City winning the league, Jason?
Not actually. Yeah, that's probably good to put a disclaimer. Yeah, not in any particular order. So it's still undecided about who would win, but that's my top four that I'm gonna go with for now.
Okay, so I'm going with Chelsea to win. I think Chelsea is going to take the league, especially if they seal this Lukaku deal, which is quite imminent. I think second spot would be a toss up between the Manchester teams. If City get Kane, it pushes them, into possibly first, because Kane's worth what 40 a season if you go across all competitions. United and Liverpool will round out the top four, but I think between the two of them they could interchange places. But yeah, that's my top four.
Sounds good. Wasim?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be boring and just go with the last season's top four: City, United, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I think that they've all strengthened their teams, and if City do go for Kane and get him, then that's going to rule out Spurs being in the top four, because Spurs really, if they want to be a top four club, they need Kane to stay and they need him to score goals as he normally does. So it's going to be tough to see him staying. So I'm going with the normal boarding top four.
Yeah, on my side, I think people are sleeping on the fact that Virgil van Dijk is back. And last season, Liverpool leaked in quite a few goals, especially towards the end of the season. And I think the fact that they'll have the first choice centre backs back could rule quite heavily in their favour. So I'm not ruling them out to win the league. I think it's going to be a toss up between Liverpool and Man City to win the league. And then Chelsea and United to fill up the remaining spots. Okay, so Ziyaad,
Yeah, I think look, obviously we've all got the same top four, but at the end of the day, I think health is going to be a massive factor. So if the team that wins actually is going to be the one that avoids a big injury and probably avoids the COVID bug. So if they can keep their squad fit and healthy, that's probably going to be the best. And I think that's why I have Liverpool a bit lower, because I feel they don't have the depth to deal with lots of injuries. Like, when Van Dijk dropped out, they did struggle a bit. We see Robertson took a knock early on now, and he's in doubt. So Oxlade-Chamberlain is fit, but who knows how long that's going to be. And that's not any salty vibes from me. It just is what it is. And yeah, I just think it's going to be tough for teams if they don't have depth. That's why I go with Chelsea, because they got lots of players, of good quality. Man United have good depth as well. And I think City, obviously, if they wrap up their signings now, also have pretty good depth.
Yeah, fair enough. I just think last season Liverpool were dealt a bad hand in the sense that all their central defenders got injured at the same time. So they basically had to promote two academy players that ended up being their stable defense for like quite a while. I think it was 12 games or something that the two of them played. But it will be interesting to see how Liverpool go into the season with a full strength defense at the back. Okay, so that wraps up our discussion for the forthcoming season. Next up, we have Fantasy Premier League. You guys want to start touching on our team? Let's discuss what thought process we went through.
Okay, so just to give some background on that quickly. So as a group, we obviously run a team that we all vote on, to pick the 15, the squad of 15. We went through we call it a live draft per se, with obviously our director of football, Mubin Ahmed, is missing, but he is a big part of that discussion. We pick that squad, and then as we go through the season as a group or panel, we manage the team and we vote on transfers in and out and so on. Last season, I think we did pretty well with Sporticast FC. And I think this season, if we combine our knowledge like we did last season, and I think we can do really well, especially with the addition of Wasim. We've also made a signing to the panel. So yeah, that's just a bit of background. So you guys can then take it forward now with how we picked that team.
Jason?
Yes, I wanted to start with the goalkeeper. When we, seeing that we now going through our team reveal, we start at the back, and the conundrum was, do we go for expensive goalkeeper or do we go for sort of cheaper goalkeeper options so that it frees up money for the other parts of the squad that we need? And we ended up going for what would be a cheaper option. Robert Sanchez from Brighton. He came into the second half of the season and he started games for Brighton, and he cemented that number one spot, and he did really well. So we felt as a panel that he was a good goalkeeper to go with, reliable, made a lot of saves. And I think also what a lot of people don't always take into account for a goalkeeper is the number of saves they make also counts for points. So they can get additional points. So even if they're not keeping clean sheets, they can still pick up points because the defense is possibly not as strong as the top teams. So, you know, the top teams could concede a 90th minute goal. There goes your clean sheet, and you end up with 2 points for your keeper. Whereas a team lower down, you know, if they have a goalkeeper and they concede a lot of chances to the opposition because the defense is not so strong, and the keeper makes saves, he could still pick up 3-4 points even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet. So we went with Robert Sanchez as our goalkeeper.
Yeah. And the fact that Robert Sanchez basically only played like half a season last season. He displaced Matt Ryan, who went out on loan. And I mean, Robert Sanchez, I think he got a total of like 111 points or 101 points in like half a season, which is quite insane. Yeah, so it was a no-brainer to go with him. The defensive players, Jason, do you want to run us through our first team defenders?
Yeah, sure. So one of our key thought processes for selecting this team was also just looking at guys that had somewhat of a full preseason. So guys that were not involved in Euros, Olympics, maybe Copa America, or even if they were, looking at guys that at least didn't play as much. So we had started and we got Cancelo, we got Digne, we got Shaw, and we got Amate from Leicester. Amate, I think, comes in there at that 4 mil bracket, and that just enables us to have extra funds in that midfield and in that front line. Having said that, Shaw's in the team kind of contradicts our thought process of having a short preseason, but I think with his showing at Euros and then also being available for, I think, United's last friendly, which was against Everton, and also just continuing the form that he showed towards the second half of the season, I think Shaw almost at 5.5 seemed almost like one of our Shaw starters. So yeah, that's a pun, and that is my spiel on our defenders.
Yeah, not forgetting that Alex Telles is injured as well, so Luke Shaw will most likely be playing every game. Midfielders, Ziyaad.
Yeah, so Jason, you forgot Ben White there sitting on our bench at the moment. You know, possibly could come in if one of the other guys don't play. But at 4.5, obviously Ben White's a fantastic pickup, and you know, quite excited about his prospects in FPL. For midfield, I think pretty simple. Thanks for giving me the easy job. We managed to build our team around the midfield. We secured the funds obviously by picking the cheaper goalkeepers and keeping our defense to a minimum. So we've got Salah, Bruno, Son that we're building around. Those are 3 premium options. I think Son could be very interesting, especially if Kane leaves. Son becomes the focal point, and I'm willing to overlook the first game against City, where afterwards Spurs will have a pretty decent run. Look, Salah's a no-brainer against Norwich, and then Bruno obviously does everything for United. And for the set pieces that he's not on, Luke Shaw will be taking those corners. So we've got our bases covered there. To round up the midfielders, we've got Joe Willock. Hopefully he makes that move in time to be available for game week 1. And if he doesn't, we've taken a punt on Demarai Gray at Everton, just because obviously with his speed, he could be an interesting player, and Everton have a fantastic run of fixtures. With Calvert-Lewin in doubt, there might also be more opportunities for Gray to be part of the action, you know, and possibly get into the goals. If Leicester managed to steal Vestergaard from Southampton, then it becomes an easier fixture for Everton to start.
Yeah. The game against United, Demarai Gray actually started up front in Calvert-Lewin's absence. So maybe that's a sign of things to come while Calvert-Lewin regains his fitness again. To round off our team, we went with Danny Ings and Mikel Antonio up front. Danny Ings, he's a no-brainer. He's, I think, 8 million on FPL, and I mean the guy, he'll push out 15 to 20 goals a season if he maintains his fitness. Yeah, so there might be some competition between him and Ollie Watkins, who gets the nod at starting forward. But I mean, the fact that they Villa splashed some money on him, like I just think that Danny Ings is going to be starting and he's going to be hitting the ground running. Mikel Antonio at 7.5, he's quite a good pick as well. He always comes clutch for West Ham, and yeah, that's our team. Everybody captaincy picks. Who did we go with and why?
Okay, so
I think with
Jason, you go.
No, I was just gonna say that with that fixture that Ziyaad had spoken about, Norwich, I think Salah's had an excellent record against him. He's not on the level of Luis Suarez versus Norwich, but I think there's more than enough points potential in there, and especially at the captain. Yeah, I think that's who we should be going with, and I think that's who most people would probably be going with. Ziyaad, what did you have to say there, man, before I rudely interrupted you?
No, I was with you on that one. I think we've actually set up our squad in a way where we've got good captaincy options. So between Salah, Bruno, and Son, I think there's good captaincy rotation there. Obviously based on the fixtures, and we saw Salah last season start with a bang. Scoring a hat-trick against Leeds, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, good option. I always lean towards Sadio Mane for some reason. I don't know why I always do it with my own team. But yeah, Salah's a no-brainer, and obviously Bruno being involved in pretty much everything at United is a possible alternative. I don't know if any of you guys are going to take any risks and go with a bit more of a differential pick. But like Jason said, I think most people are going to go with Salah.
Wasim, apart from those three players that we currently have in our team, would you suggest as a captain for those playing?
I think it's very difficult to go, but you have to look at the fixtures. And I think out of those three, there's enough goals there. So I would definitely stick with being. I feel being safe is better, especially at the beginning. Sort of build your way through the season. Get yourself in the top 10s of your mini leagues, and then you can always start making your differentials later on in the season when everyone's perhaps not as interested in fantasy as much as they are at the start. So yeah, I think that's what you got to also take into account. So I say go with a safe option, and Salah, Son, and Fernandes. There's enough goals in there to be safe.
So no Callum Wilson for you then.
The thing is with Wilson, with Newcastle also, we just don't know how many games he's going to play. When he plays and he's fit, he's an excellent player. But with Newcastle, there's always injuries around the corner, and there's an injury crisis waiting at some point. So we don't know how long that is, when that is. So I'd say for now, maybe go with the safe options.
Yeah, man, safe is always the best option. I don't think anybody would go with anybody else other than Bruno or Salah. But yeah, that is our show, episode 1 of the 343. And yeah, as we wrap up, I just want to say that if you want us to cover anything, if you want us to talk about anything specific, then hit us up on Twitter at Sportycast. We are doing the show for you guys, so it's good to let us know what you guys want as well. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Sportycast, and then like, share, subscribe on our YouTube channel, and then subscribe to our podcast on all major platforms as well. We'll put all these details in the description of the video. And yeah, don't forget to check out All Things Football as well. Wasim, where can we find you guys?
Yeah, we're available on YouTube mainly. That's our main focus. We need you to subscribe, so please do. But we're available on Twitter and Instagram as well for those who are on those platforms.
Nice. And that's a wrap. Thanks, Ziyaad, Jason, and Wasim. I'm A for 343. Stay safe, stay healthy. Catch you guys next time.